Dear students, welcome to UGC EPG Pathashala on Human Rights and Duties. In the paper on National Mechanisms for Protection and Enforcement of Human Rights, we will take up today the Central Information Commissioner or CIC, his role and duties. We have already seen in the last module the legislative framework by way of Right to Information Act 2005 and various provisions of the RTI Act. In this module, we will take up for a closer examination the institutional framework of Central Information Commission and the Central Information Commissioners, what is their role, what have been their achievements, powers, etc. At the end of this module, you should be in a position to understand the composition of the Central Information Commission, the qualifications and appointment of its commissioners, the term of office and conditions of service of the commissioners, the powers and functions of the Central Information Commission, and the initiatives taken by the CIC for smoothening the operations of the provisions of the RTI Act. The Central Information Commission is a statutory body constituted under RTI Act of 2005 to perform the functions conferred upon it by this legislation. It consists of one Chief Information Commissioner who will head the commission and such number of Central Information Commissioner as may be deemed necessary but not exceeding 10. Mr. Wajahat Habibullah was India's first Chief Information Commissioner. The general superintendence, direction and management of the affairs of the commission are vested in the Chief Information Commissioner, who is assisted by the Information Commissioners. CIC's main functions are to receive and inquire into complaints from any person, require the public authority to compensate the complainant for any loss or other damage suffered, make recommendations to public authorities not conforming to the provisions of the Act, and to recommend to the government every year reforms on any matter relevant for operationalizing the right to access information. It is also required to submit annual reports to the Parliament. The decisions of the Central Information Commission presiding over appeals are binding and thus cannot be further appealed against in a court of law. Now let us turn our attention to the composition, qualifications and appointment of Central Information Commissioners. Section 12 of the Right to Information Act deals with the establishment of the Central Information Commission. The central government has to appoint the Central Information Commission consisting of the Chief Information Commissioner and such numbers of Information Commissioners not exceeding 10. The Chief Information Commissioner and other members are appointed by the President of India on the recommendation of a committee consisting of the Prime Minister, who shall be the chairperson of the committee, the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha, a cabinet minister to be nominated by the Prime Minister. The Central Information Commission and the Information Commissioner should be persons of eminence in public life with wide knowledge and experience in law, science and technology, social service, management, journalism, mass media, or administration and governance. The subjects give a wider scope for selection. The CIC or the Information Commissioner cannot be a person who is a member of parliament or a member of the legislature of any state or union territory, or holds any other office of profit, or connected with any political party, or carrying on any business or pursuing any profession. The term of office, condition of service and removal of members, what does the RTI Act say about these? The terms of office and conditions of service are given under section 13 of the RTI Act of 2005. All information commissioners, including the Chief Information Commissioner, shall hold office for a term of 5 years or till one attains the age of 65 years and shall not be eligible for reappointment. On vacating the office of an Information Commissioner, one becomes eligible to become a Central Information Commissioner, provided the aggregate term of holding the office of Information Commissioner and CIC shall not exceed 5 years. A CIC or IC can at any time resign from the office by writing to the President of India. The terms of service of a CIC or a IC are the same as that of an election commissioner. After deducting any pension on account of previous service under the Government of India or any state government, what are the grounds for removal of a commissioner? They are provided under section 14. Order of the President based on proved misbehavior or incapacity as found by the Supreme Court on a reference made to it by the President. Misbehavior shall include being concerned or having interest in any contract or agreement made by or on behalf of the Government of India, or participation in the profit thereof and in common with other members of a incorporated company. During the inquiry carried out by the Supreme Court, the President may suspend and also prohibit the concerned Information Commissioner from attending the office. If one is adjudged as an insolvent or convicted of an offence which in the opinion of the President involves moral turpitude, or having engaged during his term of office in any paid employment outside the duties of his office, or being in the opinion of the President unfit to continue in office by reason of infirmity of mind or body, or having acquired such financial or other interest as is likely to affect prejudicially his functions as the Chief Information Commissioner or a Information Commissioner. Now, let us take up the powers and functions of the CIC. Section 18 of the RTI Act lays down the criteria which could attract appeal from an applicant who has received no response to his or her information request within the specified time limits, who thinks the fees charged are unreasonable, who thinks information given is incomplete or false or misleading, and any other matter relating to obtaining information under this law. Central Information Commissioner has the power to order inquiry if there are reasonable grounds. It also has the powers of a civil court, such as summoning and enforcing attendance of persons, compelling them to give oral or written evidence on oath and to produce documents or things, requiring the discovery and inspection of documents, receiving evidence on affidavit, requisitioning public records or copies from any court or office, issuing summons for examination of witnesses or documents, all records covered by the Right to Information Act, including those covered by exemptions, must be given to CIC during inquiry for examination. They have the power to secure compliance of its decision from the public authority, which includes providing access to information in a particular form, deciding the public authority to appoint a PIO or an assistant public information officer where none exists, publishing information or categories of information, making necessary changes to the practices relating to management, maintenance and destruction of records, enhancing training provisions for officials on RTI, seeking an annual report from the public authority on compliance with the RTI Act of 2005, requiring to compensate for any loss or any other detriment suffered by the applicant. The CIC can also impose penalties under this law or reject the application. The appellate provisions under section 19 are distinct and independent of the powers and functions of the CIC to inquire based on a complaint received under section 18. Under section 18 of the Act, the CIC is not empowered to pass a direction to the Central Information Officer for furnishing the information sought by the complainant. Now, let us examine the appellate powers and imposition of penalties. A person who is aggrieved by the decision of the first appellate authority against the order made by a Central Public Information Officer can make a second appeal before the Central Information Commission under section 19 of the RTI Act within 90 days of such a decision or from the date on which the decision should have been made. An appeal can be admitted after the expiry of 90 days if the Commission is satisfied that the appellant was prevented by a sufficient cause from filing the appeal in time. The appeal shall be disposed of in 30 days or an extended period not exceeding a total of 45 days with reasons to be recorded in writing from the date of filing. The onus of proving that a denial of request for information was justified shall be on the person denying the request. The decision of the CIC is final and binding, and no appeal can be filed against its decision in any court of law. In case the information which is the subject of the decision relates to a third party, the CIC shall give a reasonable opportunity of being heard to the concerned third party as well. The CIC under section 20 is empowered to impose a penalty if the concerned public information officer has, without any reasonable cause, refused to receive an application for information or not furnish the information within the time specified in section 7 or malafidely denied the request for information or knowingly given incorrect, incomplete or misleading information or destroyed information which was the subject of the request, or obstructed in any manner furnishing the information. Let us look at the initiatives taken by the Central Information Commission. Several initiatives taken by the CIC in its mandate are worth discussing. The CIC organizes an annual convention. It has been doing so since 2006, inviting stakeholders from civil servants, state information commissioners, RTI activists, academics, among others. Presentations are made by registered participants in technical sessions on RTI. It can include specific departments, it can include public sector undertaking, it can include regulatory bodies, academic papers on various topics related to the application of RTI Act are also presented. These conventions not only provide an opportunity and a forum for stakeholders to meet and discuss critical issues related to transparency, governance, information rights and other related issues, but also contribute significantly towards broadening and deepening of the RTI regime. In his inaugural remarks at a seminar on implementation of the RTI Act organized by the CIC, the Chief Information Commissioner, the then Chief Information Commissioner R.K. Mathur said during 2016 the CIC disposed of 32,000 cases, which was the highest in its history. He said in the past year, it has also been able to introduce an e-court system for digitizing appeals, as a consequence of which 21 truckloads of shredded paper have been removed from the Commission. He introduced a clearance drive for clearing the appeals by the end of 2017. An appeal complaints management and locator system, APCO MS locator, is being developed after receiving approval from the Department of Personnel and Training. The CIC has decided to implement an e-court system, launching a new software for appeals and complaints management and introducing a paperless system for hearing in the Commission, enabling quicker disposal of cases and efficient record management. The CIC has approximately 1.5 lakhs physical files of cases in its record room and its various offices. The Commission has decided to digitize all these files. Thereafter, physical files will be weeded out in accordance with the policy adopted by the Commission. Law students are being encouraged to take up internship with the CIC for a period of 4 to 7 weeks to get a hands-on exposure to the adjudicatory process in the Commission. Now, let us look at some important judgments relating to the CIC. The powers and functions of the CIC have come into question several times before the courts. In fact, CIC itself has clarified on various aspects under the RTI Act. It is very important to review some of these important cases. In Namit Sharma versus Union of India, the court observed as follows: keeping in view the powers, functions and jurisdiction that the Chief State Information Commissioner and or the Information Commissioners exercise undisputedly, including the penal jurisdiction, there is a certain requirement of legal acumen and expertise for attaining the ends of justice, particularly under the provisions of the Act of 2005. So, the provisions of section 12(5) and 15(5) of the RTI Act are held to be constitutionally valid, but with the rider that to give it a meaningful and purposive interpretation, it is necessary for the court to read into these provisions some aspects without which these provisions are bound to offend the doctrine of equality. Thus, it is held and declared that the expression knowledge and experience appearing in these two provisions would mean and include a basic degree in the respective field and the experience gained thereafter. The appointments of legally qualified, judicially trained and experienced persons would certainly manifest in more effective serving of the ends of justice as well as ensuring better administration of justice by the Commission. It would render the adjudicatory process, which involves critical legal questions and nuances of law, and it shall also enhance public confidence in the working of the Commission. This is the obvious interpretation of the language of the provisions of the RTI Act of 2005, and in fact it is the essence of it. In the case of Ajay Goyal versus DCP, in fact it was an appeal case of 2006, the appellant filed a complaint with CIC under section 18(1)(e) of the RTI Act against the police department. The applicant had sought the help of the CIC against the police department, which was not taking action to carry out the decree of the High Court passed in a particular case. The CIC dismissed the complaint filed by the complainant. The CIC held that it was not the appropriate forum to hear complaints under section 18(1)(e) of the RTI Act for execution of a decree passed by the High Court and dismissed the appeal. In the case of Mahadev Barik and others versus General Manager, Southeastern Railway, Kolkata, the appellant had filed an appeal against the order of the public authority which had refused to provide him with the information sought. The appeal, however, was lengthy with several repetitions and use of highly technical legal language. The appellant had also asked for information on some new points during the appeal. So, in this case, the judgment went as follows. The CIC held that an appeal should be drafted in a simple and direct manner and must be brief. It must not be unnecessarily long, too detailed and contain technical language with several repetitions. The CIC further held that no fresh grounds for seeking additional information can be allowed to be urged at the appellate level under section 19 of the RTI Act unless found to be of a nature that would require their admittance if the same has not been brought up in the application to the public authority. In the case of Pyarelal Verma versus Ministry of Railways, the appellants had challenged the delivery of judgments of the Central Information Commission by single member benches of the Commission. So, the CIC's judgment held that there is no provision in the RTI Act requiring that every case that comes before the Commission should be disposed of by a full bench comprising all the members of the Central Information Commission. The Commission referred to the section 12(4) of the RTI Act and its preamble and statement of objects and reasons to rule that single member benches of the Commission can hear appeals and deliver the orders of the Commission. In the case of Amal Das versus Arun Mishra, PIO of the Union Territory Administration of Daman, the appellant had filed a complaint with the CIC under section 18 of the RTI Act for the delay in providing information to him. It was held by the CIC that in cases of delay in providing information, the reasonable cause as laid down in section 20, due to which the information asked from a public authority could not be provided in time, should be considered. The CIC ruled that if the delay in providing information is due to some urgent official work in which the employees of a public authority are engaged, example, preparation of the departmental budget, which could not be postponed, then in such cases the delay can be condoned under the Act. Just as we have seen CIC at the central level, the state information commissions also undertake a number of measures in the interest of disclosure of information for ensuring transparency and accountability in governance. The Department of Personnel and Training has issued guidelines for state governments to ensure disclosure of information for the public. The general principles enlisted in the guidelines are for the use of information boards, walls, information disclosure through any document, proof of delivery that is available to beneficiaries, and RTI proactive disclosure. Templates for disclosure of information to the public were also provided for public distribution system, panchayats, Mahatma Gandhi Narega program, and primary and secondary schools. Kerala State Information Commission has, in association with Kerala State Literacy Mission, conducted several awareness programs. In the interest of convenience of aggrieved citizens, it has been conducting public hearings of second appeal at the district headquarters so that citizens don't have to spend their resources for coming to the state capital. Bihar has an interactive voice response system, automatic call distribution system called Jankari to assist citizens over the phone. Odisha has a government to citizen and a government to government service portal called Central Monitoring System to track the status of compliance. And likewise, many state governments have undertaken training programs and taken other initiatives to bring the promise of the Right to Information Act to the benefit of the general public. Thank you.